get right into it. Now, I remember growing up, guys, I watched a lot of that 70s show, and it was, a big part of my life, man. There was always Tommy Chong. He's iconic, guys. You can't miss Tommy Chong. And, there was Donna, of course. And then there was, Hyde, which is Danny Masterson. And all these, they really played a really good character and show. And there was Red, and he was always pissed off. And, they were always doing these named, hippie things, man. They were always trying to go to the, shows and Pink Floyd shows and hitch rides and do all this shit. And so, I mean, it was a total letdown. That was a big part of my childhood, I can say. Like, Donna, Danny Masterson, and at one point, and Tommy Chong, was my three favorite characters in that 70s show. And now after this, it's just very disturbing. Of course, I don't like him now, but, it's just, I don't know. How do you feel about it? I feel kind of distraught. It's like a part of my childhood's gone. Stoner childhood at that.
I mean, he was a part of that whole church thing. I'm not gonna mention all that because that's like the real life Baltimore here. But yeah, he was with that whole sketchy religion. You know what I'm talking about? So I mean, maybe that had something to do with his intimate demise.
Now, in case you guys didn't know, Danny Masterson had ties to the Church of Scientology.
Baltimore.
That's not a big thing here on this channel, so if you care to look up what Scientology and the Church of Scientology is, go for it. You can Google it at your will, but a lot of people believe it's a conspiracy theory. Why can't I talk today, guys? It's a conspiracy theory, rather, that the Church of Scientology actually excommunicated and messed up his whole career with this whole elaborate setup of the situation. I don't think that personally, but it is one of those, theories that are going out there.
Yeah, I have no idea. I'm not saying that they did. Definitely not saying that they did at all. I'm just saying he did have connections to that, so I don't know if that would. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It is sad. As a kid, I remember watching that 70s show, and I liked Fez and Hyde and Eric because he was a nerd too.
Yeah,
but
Eric.
Hyde was always that character that was like the conspiracy guy and like the cool one. It was like, yeah, man, I don't know.
He was laid back, His dad was a trucker and ran off, and his mom, I can't remember what she did, but she worked at a factory, and he was always home alone. I remember one episode. So his character maybe portrayed, his life, or maybe parts of his life. Maybe that's why he played that role. However, we've seen this a lot here recently. I don't know if you guys watch Rock Feed, but there was allegations against Marilyn Manson. There was allegations against Johnny Depp at one point. There was allegations against Till Lindemann from Rammstein. There was allegations against Bill Cosby. So
don't forget about the recent ones with Russell Brand.
Oh, yeah, and Russell Brand as well. So, you see a lot of these particular topics, and some of these men, like Till Lindemann and, Johnny Depp and a few other people were completely innocent, So, I believe there is information where, Danny Masterson is, needs to be held accountable for his actions. There is proof, and they have, basically charged him with these sexual allegations.
The gavel's been banged in court, he's been charged. So
it's
pretty serious.
It's a whole letdown, man. I remember getting stoned and being in high school and sitting there watching that show, and it had Tommy Chong, guys, and he was just an iconic figure. Of course, those movies are way beyond my time. They're older stoner movies. Up in Smoke and a few other ones I can't remember. I've watched a lot of them. But I even have some glass bongs made of that's made up from what Cheech has, basically. He made his own company. So, the fact that Danny Masterson did this, it really just, shined a rather shitty light on the whole memories of watching that 70s show. And it's just like, I don't think this show could ever recover from that. What do you think?
I mean, The 70's show has been off the air for how many? I mean, I know they tried to do a reboot.
Yeah,
but,
they did try to reboot it recently. Here.
But I don't think it really did that well. I don't think you can recreate that show. It was just for its time when it was made. It was just like all the pieces fell into place just perfectly for it, because the 70's meant something different than what the 90's meant. So trying to recreate that in any time period isn't the same effect as like what the 70's would mean.
Agreed. You know, we have two different time periods from now. In the 70's, it was more peace and love and understanding and, you know, united as people. And now you see a large division nowadays. We're not going to get into all that specifically, but you see a large division between people. So, you know, that's what that 70's show brought. It brought that hippie spirit, you know. It brought that carefree lifestyle, that cool outlaw stoners smoking cigarettes, drinking at a young age type deal. Like, that's what these kids were doing. You know, Danny Masterson's boss at the time was Tommy Chong. So, you know, he did quite a few episodes with Tommy Chong. And it's just crazy all this was necessarily going on in the background. And a lot more. You guys need to look in. The 70's show has quite a bit of dark history. I'm not going to go into it all specifically, of course, but if you wish to look up at it and check it out, you know, it's on Google, it's on Facebook, it's everywhere, guys. You know, Twitter, well, currently known as X now, you know, formerly known as Twitter. Whatever they want to call it now, you know, freaking. But, yeah, man, what do you think about this 2018 Farm Bill?
Oh, the 2023 Farm Bill.
Yeah, the 2023 Farm Bill. I'm so high, I'm back. I missed a whole fucking decade, guys. I'm sorry.
That's 5 years ago. It's a really huge topic. Shit. It does pertain to way more than just the cannabis industry, but that's kind of where we're going to stay with it all. And for the cannabis industry, it seems like there is an organization called CANNR. What was it? RA? Yeah. CANNRA.
And what's that pertaining to, Harry?
They're calling lawmakers to adopt in a letter sent Friday to the chairs, members. They're basically just, they want to add a definition for hemp-derived cannabinoid products. They want to define THC in terms of both THCA and Delta-9 THC. And they want to clarify that 0.3% THC threshold applies only to the plant and name a federal regulator to set appropriate thresholds for intermediate or final hemp-derived cannabinoid products.
And let me kind of relay that and break that down. So you guys, when a lot of this, and this is what the main part about the video so you guys can understand, and a lot of people are throwing out a bunch of, you know, legal hoopla, and it ain't necessarily written in black and white for, you know, the public, but what they're doing here is the Pharma Act Bill of 2023 essentially is they want to regulate all these cannabinoids. Some of them are extracted from marijuana, but some of them have what's called an isopolymer, which is just an acidic base that they make up in the lab. And they also have fake cannabinoids, much like K2 and spice and all that stuff did back, you know, when that stuff was going around. So they're just trying to mix a bunch of cannabinoids that are synthetic. They want the Farm Bill to cover the actual hemp plant. A lot of companies are also putting more THC in it. So they want a base of 0.3%, which is, guys, unless you have an extremely low tolerance, 0.3% worth of THC is not going to do shit to the average smoker and be a waste of money overall. So you have that factor. You also have the factor that they're in a lab putting together whatever fake whatever and putting it together with a pot pen for you to inhale. So, that's a big factor. And what it is a bunch of synthetic cannabinoids that are made together in a petri dish that are attached with an acidic polymer base. And they add this acidic polymer base to bind these molecules of cannabinoids to create these pens. So when you think you're getting high off HHC and you're getting high off this, there's only a handful of them that are derived from actual hemp plants. The rest of them are all fake. My suggestion to you, unless you want some real health problems down the line, is do not use those, unless you know for a fact that those specific cannabinoids are derived from cannabis and not made in a lab petri dish, because they do not have any type of testing of long-term results of use of these products. They didn't have any of THCO, but they are currently releasing and more like a plague or a phenomenon in order just to get around legalizing cannabis, in my personal opinion. And they should just legalize cannabis and do away with all these things. The CBD, where Delta 8 comes from, guys, is they add an isopolymer, that acidic base in the lab that I was just talking about, and they create it and isolate it down to Delta 8, which has 3% of THC to get you high, and it binds to the CB1 and CB2 receptors in the brain, allowing you to feel some kind of cannabis high. However, it was due to the shortcomings that they could not sell the CBD, and more of a a store or a public setting, they couldn't sell it to the masses. Nobody was interested in CBD. Once they said it, seen that it had no psychoactive effects, and most people understood at that point it was just purely for medical, and not too many people even used it for that purpose. So they grabbed it all off the shelf, turned it into Delta 8, and resold it out to the public, because you don't see all that normal Delta 8 at your local smoke shops that you would normally see. It's been replaced off the shelf with Delta 8, and now you're seeing they just made THCO illegal. Now they're, really cracking down. And I think it's good. I think we should know what's in what we're inhaling. I think you viewers at home would like to know what you're inhaling in your cars, know that it's safe. It's not pesticides. It's not mold. It's not isopolymer acidic-based chemicals that was made in a lab dish. It's not organic. I mean, what do you think, Harry?
Well, they actually are doing a couple more things too. That they want to name a federal regulatory agency with a timeline for implementing regulations to protect consumer safety, and
That's
number
good.
5, ensure that the states are not preempted from going beyond federal politics, which should set minimum standards to protect consumer safety and public health.
Which is good, guys. This 2018 Farm Bill. What it's doing basically is it wants just purely organic hemp products. If it's fake, they want it off the market because they believe it's not safe for human consumption, nor is it considered an agricultural financial beneficiary, such as a corn crop or a bean crop or a cotton crop or an apple field, orchard, if you will. It's not considered a commercialized crop. Yeah, and I agree. I don't think you should be putting things together in a lab, for lack of better terminology, and selling it to the public. They're not some test rats, they're human beings. So they need to be treated as such, and there needs to be regulations on these things to where humans are not inhaling any type of other foreign substance nor drug.
Yeah, it's messed up that they found this derivative loophole, or this THCA loophole, where they figured out, well, we could convert this thing to that, or take these things and take this synthetic thing and turn it into something that's similar to.
And let's get into that for a minute. And how THCA is legal, because it's one of the cannabinoids found in cannabis. However, until a source of heat meets it, it don't turn to Delta 9 and get you stoned. So therefore, it's legal. So what they found a way to do is concentrate as much THCA into a pen, and then once your atomizer, when you're using your disposable, it heats up and vaporizes. Then the THCA gets converted over to Delta 9, which is Delta 9 tetrahydrocannabinol, which is what gets you stoned. So basically, they found a way to sell a cannabinoid, and the only way it gets you stoned is when you, the user and the purchaser of the product, atomize it at home. So only then does it become actual pot. And they're not regulating the amount of THC, which I'm not a FUD on, or a freaking, I don't know what to call a stickler on, or, I'm not a caring about. I want them to crank as much THC in that pen, if it's a legal pen, as humanly possible. If they can put 1,000,000% in there, cool, put 1,000,000 milligrams. I want that. Not the normal consumer probably does, at least a couple thousand. Shit. But, for those who want to know everything, I think it's more safer for them to have the percentage. Me, I wouldn't care if there was 5,000 milligrams of THC in it. Cool, I'm happy. I'm going to get stoned, So, I can understand how the normal consumer's like, well, bro, I got kids, or I got work, or I got to do this, or I got to work on my house. I get that. I have things going on too, but it would be nice to have a nice strengthful or a nice strong THC percentage, and something in the hundreds or thousands in a distillate, that's for sure. But I don't know. They found the loophole, guys. What else can we say? Like they put out THCA until it's converted over, it's atomized, and then turned into basically pot distillate. So they're cracking down on that. And we just did a review coming up, and we're going to be putting out, which you guys can see down in the link below. It's called Flying Horse, and it's a whole THCA, but it's a legal pen, and it's quite interesting. You'll never see another disposable. So make sure you guys check your notifications for that. Absolutely, because that video is interesting. It's unlike any disposable we've ever done. Wouldn't you say, Harry? It's quite unique.
The flying horse carts?
Yeah, disposables, yep.
They definitely were good. It definitely reminded me that I was hitting on a hemp product, but because it had the THCA in there, you really got good effects from it. Still not as good as like what you would from a live rosin cannabis pen or a diamond pen, but for legal carts, it was one of the better ones. Didn't give me a headache. I thought it was interesting to see all the different cannabinoids, to get to try different cannabinoids. I thought that was really interesting, but I think it's just better if those cannabinoids are grown in a natural form. Just making stuff in a lab like that, we know from experience anything that's highly manipulated by man, like food, for an example.
Yeah, with all the preservatives in it, we know that you have that quality of your organic product and its nutrients dumbed down quite a bit. After that, so that's I agree. I gotta say, the more organic, and I think every stoner would like to know that they're just smoking weed, or that they're just smoking wax without butane, or us as people that maybe can't use pot but found delta this or that, THC, PCH, HXC, HHC, THC, JD. I could go on and on. THCV, delta 9, 8, 10, and 11, and now delta X. So there's a lot of variants of this stuff, and I feel like at one point I was like a test subject, because I'm a pothead, and I was like, well, let's try what this one does. And some had some positive effects, some didn't do nothing at all, but none of them really got me stoned. None of them completely created that full circle of head, body stoked. They were always missing something or didn't do nothing at all. Personally, as far as purchasing them, I mean, if you had like nothing else and you were dying for some weed, and your plug was just in a fucking coma or on vacation, and then the dispensaries were closed and you just couldn't get any pot at all, then I guess these things are great. But outside of that, and I'm not shitting on the users of it, if you use Delta 8, if you use HHC, cool. I'm not, that's up to you. But I'm solely throwing out my perspective on it with my many months to years of using all these cannabinoids and cannabis as well. It's just, I don't think it's healthy for the populace. I feel like they're test rats at this particular time, and they're just throwing out whatever cannabinoids and tiptoeing around the fact that they just need to legalize cannabis, because I think it's a medicine that's beneficiary to humanity, and I think all humans should have access to cannabis as a medicine, or just to recreationally get them high, much like people do with beer.
I agree very much. And with that all being said, we're going to have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
We'll be back right after this. And we're back with Harry's take on THCA and other cannabinoids. So I asked him right before he left the Two Buds in a Jar studio.
Right. I really enjoy THCA out of whether it's derived from hemp or it's derived from typical commercial cannabis or high grade cannabis. It is just, it's really some of the best stuff. Don't like CBD that much, but that is a counteractive of Delta 9 THC, so that's probably why I don't like it that much. Delta 8 seemed to always give me a headache, so I always try to stray away from Delta 8 products. If it has Delta 8 in it, I try to not mess with it. The HHC was an interesting one. To me, I would compare it to almost like a cheap alcohol. It's like that's the feeling if you were to compare it to like regular distillate to HHC. I feel like it's like the party alcohol, not
Like
cheap
a Bud
alcohol.
Light or
It's like it's like the party, or like the frat boy kind of like I'm getting messed up.
Oh yeah, White Claw. That's what it is. It's
Yeah.
the White Claw.
Maybe the White Claw, so something of that nature. It's like more of like you're gonna have a good time, but you're getting messed up. You know, it's not as enjoyable to me as a traditional cannabis would be. And then I would say the majority of the other ones really had no effect on me. They really didn't. B didn't do too much. V and B both had very little to no effect. What was it? Delta 11, Delta 10. Both of those had little to no effect, really. So, I mean, THCA, definitely good.
I must concur with Harry. So the THCV is supposed to be an appetite suppressant. Instead of doing that, it made me eat my whole damn fridge and take a nap and wake up and do the same. The THC JD felt much like Spice, K2, or Salvia. I did not enjoy it in any way, shape, or form, and I do not recommend it. The HHC made me feel lightweight, drunk, but it was like a stoned buzz, but just completely being high was missing. Something was missing out of that equation to make me completely high, and it was the Delta 9. Now, if you add weed with HHC, it's pretty good. It creates the full circle high you're looking for. Delta 10, 11, and 8. 8 gives me a bad headache, and I have to use a lot of it, so I get a bad migraine from it, much like Harry. I don't enjoy any of the Delta variants, and they don't do much for me. THCA is the only one that seems to be legal that they've made. And of course, it burns, and once it reaches a certain temperature, becomes Delta 9 THC. So, it's really just the THC, again, getting you high and not the legal pen. So, my overtake on all of it is if you're going to smoke weed, smoke weed. And once again, that ain't bashing the users or the likers of, or the fans of the HHC and the Delta 8s and the different variants. I'm not a big fan of them. I've also did smoke the THCO as well, and it just had very sedatory properties and made you really tired and feel heavy. So, I'm not a giant fan, and I gotta say, I'll just stick to Delta 9, which is just pure THC or pure THCA, that's in THC form. So, yeah, anything from live rosin to bud, flower to disposables to carts, that's THC, I think is the way to go, Canna family.
I would have to agree with you there. Keep it natural.
Oh yeah, if it ain't natural, it ain't real, guys, and you don't want to deal with all those lab-made petri dish bullshit specials that they have. So, It's a good thing. Anything else you take away from all this, Harry?
Hollywood's crazy.
Yep.
Politics are crazy.
Danny Masterson's an asshole.
And synthetic cannabinoids probably aren't good for you. So stick with real ones.
Yep. So, guys, Danny Masterson's an asshole. Lab-made Petri shit. Garbage. Don't buy it. The 2018 Farm Bill is for your health and safety. Make sure you enjoy that.
2023.
2023. I'm still so damn high. I'm back 5 years. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what year or month it is anymore. I have an onset of dementia, I guess. Oh, shit. Oh, guys. That about wraps up another podcast. Tell us down in the comments, what do you think of Danny Masterson? Is he an asshole for ruining the 70's show and what he did? I think so. Tell us what is your experiences? Do you guys like HHC, Delta 8, or do you guys just not care for that? I want to get a comment generating going on this to just see how many people's tried Delta 8s and different HHCs. So definitely like and comment below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell. And as always, we're your hosts, Two Buds in a Jar, Dustin and Harry Kula. We're burning the fuck out. See you guys next time, man. It's your host, Justin, from Two Buds in a Jar and Told Two Drugs, kids.